Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to test out this Fimo Dreamy Pets clay craft instruction kit. And this is actually with the Fimo Kids type clay, oven made clay, which I've never tried before, so I'm really excited to see how it will work. The clay actually comes packaged pretty smallly, so the kit doesn't really use up much space, which is really nice. Like, the packaging is very minimalistic, and they even put a tiny different activity of a, I guess, hanging charm with this stellar cloud and the stars and pillows, actual pillows to display your characters. As you can see, there's 3 characters that you can make: a panda, a bear and a bunny. And the kit also comes with the instructions for the clay and stickers. We actually get stickers to decorate our stuff. And here's the clay. So we get a white, a pink, a black and a sparkly type of orangey brownish color, which I'm really excited to see how the glitter fares in the oven. And the instructions, looking at it at first glance, seem to be pretty well made. It explains to you how to form the clay, or at least in images, it shows you how much of the clay, which is where the grooves in the clay actually help to measure it out. It shows you some tricks with the stylus, and it even shows you how to make the hanging charm, which I think is a great activity. But the first thing I of course want to try out is following the instructions of the bear. Now, I'm gonna put my own little twist on it, but I'm mainly gonna try and follow the instructions for the amounts and all that. And underneath the clay is actually also a tool. This one seems to be really useful with the rounded edge and the a bit sharper knife style edge. I think this can be really helpful for sculpting. As I mentioned before, I never used Fimo kits. Even as a child, I always had the Fimo Soft, because that was just the easiest available one for me. So this one was really an interesting trial for me to see how this clay works, and if it's blendable and all that, and if it's actually a nice alternative for certain sculptures. And the first thing I noticed, yes, this kit was fresh, but even fresh Fimo Soft can be quite a bit more tough. I didn't need to condition anything. I could go straight into rolling and shaping the clay. It was so soft, it was super easy to get the shapes, get the balls. I didn't need to smooth it out too much. And with the amounts they give in the instructions and all that, you can actually make a very decent sized figure. Another thing I noticed, since it is so soft, it also sticks really well to itself. Normally with other clays you might want to use Bacon Bond. For this one I didn't really have any feeling like I needed it. The pieces just were pushed together and then they stuck. Actually, for the bear it comes with this beehive honey jar type thing, and I wanted to embrace this design a little bit more and actually make it a foodie feature in having the bear eat from it. So I basically made the jar a bit wider, made the arms and made it so they were holding it, and I wanted it to look like one of the arms was actually having honey on it and the bear was actively scooping honey out of the jar. So that is what I went with. I was actually surprised by the glitter infused clay. It didn't work much differently than the other one. It didn't have any hard bits and pieces. The glitter just looks like normal chunky glitter. But there was no texture difference practically at all. It was same workable. There was no rips and tears in the clay where the glitter sits in. So the only thing that's left now is to see how it's baking. Now, one thing I noticed, because it is so soft, is blending is not the easiest at all. It doesn't really want to blend. It just feels like it tears a little bit more, no matter how soft I went over it. So I guess it gives more of a stuck together and stay that way kind of vibe instead of you being able to blend with this clay. There might be methods to blend it with like maybe some mineral oil or some alcohol on like a Q-tip or something and then trying to smoothen it out. But I didn't really want to try it because I didn't want to soften the clay even more than it was. So I'm also not going to remove any fingerprints from the sculpture, which this one keeps picking up really easily. Another thing I noticed with the softness is, yes, it's very easy to work with, but when you press in certain details into your character and you hold like the back of the head, for example, you definitely misshapen it a little bit, which is a little bit more noticeable. Now, if you're very careful to just stick it on and not like push it into the character, it doesn't really misshapen it. But yeah, if you don't really pay attention to that, but just want to press and shapen the pieces on the character, it may deform it a little bit more than you want to. Another thing with the stickiness was I had problems to like get things off of my fingers. I don't have particularly warm hands, but it still stuck really well to my fingers. Especially with the eyes, I struggled a bit more. And even though I used like thicker pieces, I had a very hard time at first to get it off my hands. And later on, I'm actually going to smush the eye shapes that I do for the other characters onto the back of the tool and use that to transfer. And the clay actually also stuck to the tool way more than to the other clay. Now this tiny little bird turned out really cute in my opinion, but I wanted to add a little bit more color to its eyes, so I blended in some colors, added a black iris, and then I went in with some white highlights on the eyes and on the nose. Also, another thing I noticed is that the white turned a bit yellowish, so I wanted to try by making a pure white character. The bunny originally is made with the glitter type clay, but I decided a white bunny with a little bit different face features would be nice to have. And since I went with the bear for the first one with the honey jar, I wanted to make this one a foodie theme also. So I went in and made a cookie. And to actually get the color for the sprinkles, that was a bit harder. But I actually figured, why not try and mix some actual paints in? So I'm using my acrylic paint pen. Normally I wouldn't really suggest putting in pure acrylics, but these are a bit watered down and more like pigmented. Actually, water-based paints might work a bit better, or like paint pigments actually would be ideal, just to not, you know, make the clay get sticky or too soft, or so it like discolors in the oven when you harden it. But for this I just went with teeny tiny bits of brown paint, and then I mixed some of the yellow with a tiny bit of pink just to get like a more like reddish tone, and then I added in some black. And in the end, this is just for the chocolate chips, so to speak, of the cookie. The cookie itself will be with the yellow glitter clay. I just basically went in, flattened it, dabbed a little bit of my brown paint pen on, mixed it in until I was happy with the color. And this worked out surprisingly well. Now, of course, I forgot to clean my hands in between, and I'm working with white clay, so the arms are gonna be looking a bit like they're covered in chocolate, but it's totally fine. A bunny can eat a cookie very messily. But basically, all I did was rip off chunks. I found in the end with the tool it was a bit easier to like make it look like, I guess, chocolate shards, like somebody actually took a chocolate bar and like cut it with a knife. And I just placed them on top, and then I went in. Normally I would actually use pastel chalks, but I couldn't find them. So I just went in, painted a little bit of the acrylic pen on my fingers, and I used this for shading. Now the only thing, of course, is that around the chocolate pieces there wasn't really much of color because they were a bit indented, but I think it definitely gave a nice bit of brown shading. And I also, of course, had the bunny take out a bite. This was mainly also because the cookie was too large, so it would actually look like the bunny is eating it and still fit around the snout. And then as you can see, the hands have a little bit of brown stain. We're just gonna say that the bunny probably ate another cookie beforehand and just got completely covered in chocolate. But overall, I think this turned out really adorable. The last animal I wanted to make was one of my own creations. I wanted to make a sheep out of this one. I got the inspiration when I read the name Dreamy Pets, so I thought, why not? Now to get the skin tone face color, I mixed some yellow glitter with the white and pink. I'm just going to, embrace the glitter. Although I noticed when you mix it with other colors, the glitter pretty much disappears. Not fully, it's still there, but I think it just gets diluted so much that the glitter chunks get covered up. So for this one, I'm just basically making the body shape like they do in the instruction booklet, and then to get the woolly look, I'm just using a lot of spheres that I cut in half and press into the body to give this woolly, tufty kind of look. And since I had more black than white left, I went with a cute black sheep. I wanted to keep with the style of the other pets, so the arms, legs, also kind of the ears and all that were made pretty similarly to how they actually made it in the instruction booklet, because this one really should fit in with the bunch of the Dreamies. With the only exception that this one is not getting any snacks. I thought about giving him something, but I couldn't really think of any snack that I could make with the colors. I know there's plenty. I could have given him a dango, a pocky stick, or anything like that, but none of them really spoke to me, so I just went without a snack and I just went with the chunky sheep kind of vibe. And here's the sheep after baking. I think it turned out super adorable. Now the last thing, of course, I'm missing is the eyes. Also make sure you clean up any residue that you have on your surface, because it might transfer to the bottom of your object if you use any kind of baking tray. So basically how I make the eyes is I start out with a light color, and I'm basically covering half of the black dot that I'm using for the eyes. And then I'm using different strips of colors going darker and darker towards the bottom. Basically I segment this part that I just painted lightly into 3 with the different colors. You can blend them. I'm not doing it here on purpose because it just wouldn't be really noticeable at all. But as you can see, I chose a pink, this reddish tone, and then a purple. And then lastly, to actually define the eye shape, I'm just going to go in with a black acrylic marker, and I'm going to make a huge circle that is going to be the iris. And once that's dry, I'm going to add the eye shines to make it look a bit more lively. And with that, the sheep is done. I'm actually quite surprised how much clay I still have left. Even following technically the 2 tutorials and making a 3rd character, I could easily use the rest of the clay to make another 1 character and some accessories, which I think is super nice because that leads to the possibilities of being very creative with what you make and just using these things as a guideline. I also have to say I really like the extra projects they give you for the decoration and all that stuff. So far this kit has been very lovely to work with. So, what are my overall thoughts on this kit now that I've actually done a lot of sculpting? First of all, this kit itself was really great. There was lots of activities in there. You get lots of extra clay, and these kits actually come in different variations. So you have dinos, monsters, farm animals, and many more. And you get the tools you need, you get the clay, and even in this case some extra background decor. As for the clay, it's nice and soft, easy to work, it holds details, you can mix and blend colors as you want. It is easy to stick things together. The only thing that it really cannot do too much is, first of all, when you press on things, it doesn't hold its shape that well because it's so soft. And second of all, it is pretty challenging to blend items together once you stuck them together. Now, depending on the style you use for your figures, you don't really need to blend things in. I only wanted to blend in the ears for the bear a little bit, but in the end I didn't really need that. I think this like cute style that they chose in the booklet and all that is really in no need for actually blending things. Personally, I'm going to stick to Sculpey Medium and Fimo Soft. I just think they hold their shape a bit better, although these stayed pretty much the same shape all the way through, which I'm pretty impressed by, even though the clay is so soft. But when I'm adding details and sculpting on things, I like the clay I'm working with to be a little bit more sturdy. Not as sturdy as like a Sculpey original, but pretty sturdy so I can press additional things on and all that without completely misshaping anything. But of course, for simple sculptures like these, the clay is actually pretty ideal, and for if you have any problems with your hands where you cannot really knead the clay and you only do like a little bit of sculpting sometimes and don't really want to get any kind of like pasta machine or clay roller to condition your clay and put the work in that. But let me know in the comments down below, have you ever tried one of these kits, and which is actually your favorite clay? Do you have a favorite brand of clay, a favorite type of clay? It doesn't have to be oven baked like this one. It can be air dry, it can be paper clay. Just tell me in the comments, and also let me know what you thought of my little sculptures I made, and maybe if you would actually pick one of those kits up and make some of these yourself. Have a lovely day, see you next time, bye bye!